Hello, folks. Today I'm gonna read the last seven daily inspirations, and then you guys can choose one of them, and we can go from there. And here they are. October 14th is we cannot achieve peace through punishment. October 15th, the choice between trust and worry. October 16th, what is the ego? October 17th, reevaluating the idea of having a bad day. October 18th, respecting how you feel is respecting yourself. October 19th is learning to love yourself more by loving others. And October 20th, negative thinking shows us where we desire not to go. Any of those interest someone?
I like what is the ego?
What
I
is the
agree.
ego?
I was going to say that.
All right, let's do that. Let's start with that. What is the ego? Okay, the October 16th daily inspirational message. What is the ego condensed version? Paragraph 1. The ego is not evil, nor is it your enemy. To define the ego as evil or the enemy is to give it a power, is to give the ego a power it does not have. The ego is simply a limited and illusionary belief system within the mind. The ego expands or contracts depending on the time, focus, and energy we give to it. The ego supports thoughts that are in seeming opposition to love, God, all. Yet because because God is all in truth, there can never be an opposition to all. Thus, in essence, the ego is nothing, not real or true. Whatever the ego supports as natural, normal, and proper expressions of who we are really just false concepts. They are delusional programs that we have been taught as true. Whatever the ego supports as true is false. Whatever it supports as reality is illusionary in nature. When we are aligned with the ego, we're not being who were we created by God to be. Paragraph 2. Today, when you do not feel at peace, do not get frustrated. Instead, recognize that you feel this way because you are allowing the ego to think for you. All you need to do is to correct your thinking and realign your mind with the loving mind of God. Because in truth, you are already love. Aligning with the loving mind of God is an effortless accomplishment. Love is your natural state of mind. Peace is one of love's numerous expressions. Thus, peace is your natural state of mind. God, being love, can and will use all for good. He can even use the ego's tools and mindset to help you recall who you are not, and thus help you heal and awaken. As you heal and awaken, the ego begins to fade away into the nothingness from which it came. As you heal and awaken, you can see that all people and situations are in your life to help lift you to a higher level of consciousness. When you awaken and see all others through love's lens, the need for the ego's judgment-centric, fear-based mindset will dissolve before your light and understanding. And so, that's the end of paragraph 2. And so we're talking about the ego. The ego is really any thought that seems to be in opposition to love, to who you truly are. And so the ego is placing itself, unknowingly, it's placing itself against God, against love, against all. And because if the ego is placing itself against all, it itself has to be nothing. It itself has to be not real or true. And so no matter what the ego says about you, remember, because the ego is not real or true, because the ego itself is a lie, everything that it shares with you is a lie. And so don't allow the ego to put you down or others down when it's speaking. Just practice recognizing when it is speaking. When you're being unloving to yourself or others, when you're being judgmental of self or others, when you're being critical of self or others, when you're frustrated, when you're resentful, when you're hateful, when you're doubtful, fearful, that's the ego speaking. But whatever it speaks, remember, it's not true. And so all you have to do is, okay, I'm aligned with a judgmental thought. Okay. The ego answers first and loudest, so that's fine. I'm aligned with a judgmental thought. Nothing apart from God, from love, from all is true. Therefore, this judgmental thought of myself that I'm having is not real or true. And so there's no need for me to criticize myself or condemn myself or others, because that holds no truth in reality. And so it's not about making the ego wrong. It's simply recognizing that the ego is really nothing. And so you don't want to make the ego your enemy. You don't want to make other people's egos your enemy. You don't want to make them evil, the ego evil. You don't want to give it any power, because in reality it's powerless. Only if you dedicate your time, focus, and energy to the ego's thoughts and delusions and stories, that's when the ego gets power. And so the power that the ego has is only the power that you give to it. And so if you want to have a powerless ego, you have to make a conscious decision to stop placing your time, focus, and energy into those lies. And so that is a little bit of what the ego is.
Can I say something? Hi,
Yeah.
James, everyone. I find in myself, having these struggles with the ego, and then the power of the ego, the power of who I am, what I think I am, it's, I feel like if I have a friend that tries to bring my actions, judges my actions, my thoughts, criticizes the way I am, I find it's being like disempowering me, like bringing me down, because it's not what she says, it's the way she says things. So I find it really hard not to go into my feelings when I do release it after I journal. I had to journal about it, and I go like, it's for my good. Actually, this criticism is for this judgment. It's good, but I don't take it good the moment it's coming. Criticizing, for example, I take action very quickly. I had to do a logo, and then the logo didn't come out the way I wanted, because it's like these people give you a certain amount of hours for you to say yes, no, approve, or disapprove. If not, it's done. So the first time I did, but then the second time I couldn't. I was busy. I thought next day I can do it, and then it's like it's there anyway. So, and she says, you don't care about wasting the money. You don't care about, you should have been doing this. You have been understanding. You should read better, be more careful, and stuff like that. It's okay. I mean, I do. Actually, I can do something with that logo. I have someone that can do the printing with. But that thought came after. At the beginning I was like feeling like she was attacking me, like other times, it did. And sometimes it was like I felt the criticism very strongly. You don't know how to speak English, you should speak in Spanish all the time. I go like, yeah, I know, I try my best. I know my English is not that good, but I like to, be in these meetings. I find a lot of spirituality, and it's in English. What can I say? So yes, it is. It's hard for me to see, that in the empowering the ego, probably is the power there in empowering the ego. So how can I do that?
Okay. whenever somebody speaks to you, okay?
I'm gonna be I'm gonna come out of this because I'm gonna be driving. But thank you. Yes, I'm gonna be listening.
Okay. Whenever somebody speaks to you, remember, it's not what they say that affects you. It's how you define what they're saying that affects you. Okay, and so you have the power. Nothing anybody can say out there can in any way, shape, or form hurt you unless you define it in a way that's hurtful to yourself. And so all you want to do is first remember, okay, whatever person X or Y said, I'm defining what they're saying. And so I can choose peace instead of defining what they said in a way that's hurtful. And remember, only the person's love is true, right? So anything that they say that comes from an unloving place, it's not real and it's not true. And so why should you be hurt if somebody's saying something that's not real or true about you? It's just a little fantasy they hold in their head. And so if you define it as negative, that's on you. That's not on them. You have to remember everything is love or a call for love. So if they're saying something unloving to you, they're simply asking you to offer them love in whichever way that you can in that moment. So maybe you can be a little more forgiving or a little more compassionate or a little more understanding, you know?
Wow,
And
thank you so much.
yeah.
I was gonna mention something about that. Can I jump in?
Yes, please.
Isabel, that has happened for as long as I can remember with my mom. In terms of she tends to be quite critical, and I really have applied the philosophy of taking a second and really controlling my reaction and realizing that it's about her and not about me. However, I think my gut, like my first automatic reaction is to tense up and to be like, that is so unpleasant. Just hearing that is so unpleasant. However, I know what I do next. The next decision I make is gonna make or break the situation. I'm either gonna be very upset, and like ruin the interaction, or I'm going to take a deep breath and continue on with her without being angry and resenting her. And I've been able to do it, and it is miraculous, and it is so fabulous. Like just that just change of whatever perception or the way you interpret it. It's amazing. Like it just cuts through all the bitterness and the waste of time, like I did for a long time, getting upset and trying to defend myself, and how can you say such a thing? And then of course from her side it's like, I'm just being honest. What? I didn't say, and it's just, not gonna go anywhere.
Yeah,
Anywhere positive. So yeah. Not easy, but I think it's like, I think most of us are on, at least I am, an automatic pilot. With certain people trigger us more than others, and if we act the same always, we're gonna get the same result, right? But yeah, so that's been my experience, and it's so much less exhausting. My gosh.
Thank you so much for sharing, Yvonne.
Yeah, so Yvonne, if you put your new way of thinking in 3 steps, what would those 3 steps be when somebody is critical in that way?
So, first step, be silent. Don't say anything. Second step, acknowledge them, because I think if you don't, it may, I mean, that's what I do. And then the third step would be give them love and just be kind. Yeah. Or, and maybe, yeah. The acknowledgement, I guess, I don't know, maybe if I bypass the acknowledgement, be kind, and then and let it go, obviously, is a very, I mean, you have to really let it go. You cannot come back to it and be like, oh my God, what, this is what happened. No, you have to let it go. Not taking it personally is in there as well, but so throwing in some extra steps, but yeah. Oh, I can't hear, we can't hear you.
James, you're
Okay.
yeah.
I'm back. Yeah. So yeah, that's a good way to reply to anytime the ego is speaking. It's first realize, take a moment for yourself. Okay. They said something, take a moment, take a breath.
Yeah.
Because if you don't take a breath, guess who's gonna answer?
The ego.
The ego is gonna answer. And so you want to just take a breath. Okay, this is how they feel. That's fine. That's how they feel. I appreciate. Thank you for your comment. And
You gotta be careful with the thank you with your, that can come out so sarcastic.
yeah. No, I mean that in like
It,
in a silent way.
oh, keep it inside. Yeah, I got it.
Yeah. Like inside your mind, go. Okay, thank you for your comment.
Right.
And then see, okay, what are they really asking for? Are they asking to be heard? Are they asking to be supported in some way, shape, or form? And so find the answer through whatever one of love's expressions, whatever that could be in that moment. Maybe you could tell them, yeah, okay, I understand how you feel, and thank you for sharing that. And then come from a place of love, from a place of defenselessness. In my defenselessness, my safety lies, right? And so, yeah, you don't want to add darkness to darkness, because it doesn't help anybody find the light.
Yeah.
And so you want to be the light when there is that darkness. You don't want to add the darkness to it.
And
so,
it feels so good. And it feels so good. It really does.
yeah, there's another way of saying that in the Course of Miracles. Is above the battleground, above the battlefield.
Yeah.
You understand that something's going on here in the ego's duality, but you raise above it. And so you see the situation as just a little game the ego is playing. And you make the conscious decision not to join the game. Okay. Because sometimes, a lot of people feel that drama equals love, or arguing equals love.
Mm.
A lot of people were raised that way, If you don't argue back, then you don't love them. Or if you don't argue back, it's because you think they're what they said was dumb or whatever.
I've been guilty of that. Oh my gosh.
Yes, we all have.
Yeah. But okay. I'm not gonna justify it. I'll just stay quiet.
Yeah, and so yeah, you want to be the light within the darkness. So whatever, let's say the ego says, judge them back. You always want to do the opposite of what the ego is recommending or demanding. They said this about me. Oh, I'm going to say this about them. That's going to even the score. Tell that to the Israelis and the Palestinians and the Arabs. For 2,000 years they've been kind of going at it that way. And so yes, you have to you have to practice remembering that only the love in my brother and sister is real and true. What are they really asking me for? Maybe they're asking for a hug, you know, or maybe they're asking us to be heard, or maybe they're having a really rough day and they need to let it out and you're there. You know, sometimes that's a way of loving them, is by letting them go ahead and project it out onto you because they've had such a difficult day and they have nobody else to project it onto. And they can't keep it inside because that would only blow them up, you know? And so it's kind of like one of those car valves that you take it out, and then the steam comes out. So sometimes you can be loved that way, you know? And so yes. Decline this. Any other examples of how people have dealt with difficult situations or difficult individuals, let's say? Everybody has, yeah, go ahead.
I had a situation that was very interesting today that in the morning I was talking to a friend about a situation about bullying, but nothing very specific. At night, she sent me an article of a science report saying, oh, what we are discussing, like the science now talks about that what the effects bully can happen in the brain that can, cause like some people to have really like, damage their mental health, and some people can commit suicide if they receive bullying on a early age. And so I comment on back, that was a text message that she sent. And I comment back saying, yeah, it's interesting that science can map out the brain, but, science cannot really map out the consciousness, because each individual will react differently being in the same situation, so not everybody will commit suicide. Some people will actually go through the experience, they will excel, and they will be able to help other people. That's what we always talk about when you go through difficult situations. But right after I said that, and it's not the first time with this friend in particular, I start feeling bad, start feeling nauseous. And there's all the situation with this friend that I was healing her, then I start feeling bad also. Anyway, so I light up a candle, I was with my kids, which like they are very sensitive to the way I feel. One of them was hugging me a lot, and I was like connecting to love. And I said, I'm not gonna go into fear. I'm gonna go like call God and love all the time. And anyway, so I felt better, but I was really nauseous. And I did also Ho'oponopono like that to clear some of this. Some prayer, Ho'oponopono. And so this morning, my friend said that she woke up after a bad dream, that she was a bully and that she was bullying a friend. And she saw that this friend was terrorized by her inflicting the bully on this friend. And she said, but I was never a bully. And she woke up feeling nauseous and feeling really sad. And she said, do you think that it's past life? I said, I don't know, it might be, but anyway, you have opportunity right now to choose love. So, God is not judging. So call God, call love, and do Ho'oponopono and clear this out, So I thought it was like so interesting because in a way it was my friend. Like I could think that, okay, something that it was my imagination that I was like in fear and I was feeling nauseous. But the other day that happened to my friend. But I think the most the point is that in other occasions, I was in fear every time that I would say I'll interfere in somebody's karma you know, and in a way I'll attract some of darkness. But yesterday I was like feeling a little bad, but then I was connecting to love and to God, and then I was able to, like what you said, trust God. You know, it's an opportunity for you to like to transmute, you know, from darkness to light. You know, so I thought it was very interesting, you know, that you were sad, but you know, be glad because it's an opportunity that you are having to clear some of these these beliefs, you know, or I don't know, it happened this life or past life. But anyway, if she was feeling sad, she had the opportunity to transmute that energy as well. And,
Yeah.
yeah. So, but I mean, I'm so glad with me, the fact that there were so many times that I was afraid on these situations. Every time that I would interfere with somebody, and I would think that I would bring their karma to me, you know. But that's also an illusion, I think, of my ego, maybe believing on the darkness, you know.
Yeah, and then paragraph 1 says the ego supports thoughts. Okay, actually here. The ego expands or contracts depending on the time, focus, and energy that we give to it.
Mm-hmm.
And so whenever you find yourself in that ego energy, just don't punish yourself for that. There's no need to punish yourself for being in the dark, quote unquote, darkness. Okay? Just practice recognizing when you're in the darkness, when you're aligned with the ego's thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And then pat yourself on the shoulder that you're able to recognize that you have the wisdom to recognize that you're somewhere that you really don't belong.
Mm-hmm.
You don't belong in the ego mindset.
Mm-hmm.
You don't belong in the darkness.
Mm-hmm.
And so the more times you get to practice recognizing that you're somewhere you do not belong, the less time you spend in that mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And so all those quote unquote negative times where we reacted in a negative fashion, or others reacted in a negative fashion and we bought into that, that's simply helping us see what we don't want.
Mm-hmm.
And so if our brother or sister or even ourselves are teaching us what we don't want, that only gives us a clearer picture of what we truly do want, how we truly want to react, how we truly want to think. And so all those quote unquote negative times were not really negative, were not really bad. They were just lessons offered to us to show us where we do not belong and where we do belong.
Yeah.
So when you recognize that everybody is really just helping you see where you do not belong and where you do belong, your response to them starts to become one of gratitude.
Yeah.
Oh, person X said this. This triggered me. I don't want to be in that space. I want to offer forgiveness instead of being triggered. So thank you, person X, for helping me practice realizing that I have another choice. I can choose forgiveness instead of judging my brother or sister. I can choose compassion instead of condemnation.
Mm-hmm.
I can choose having grace for myself instead of punishing myself for having negative thinking. And so when you start to realize that everything the ego says is negative and bad, is really something that's helping you realize who you do not want to be, then now the ego starts to become your friend. Now the ego starts to become your ally in your awakening process. Because the ego is showing you what you do not want.
Mm-hmm.
So if the ego is showing you what you do not want, then you have a clear path to remembering what you truly do want. And so we don't have to make the ego our enemy. We don't have to make the ego evil. We don't have to make ourselves bad for being in alignment with the ego. We just have to recognize we're somewhere we do not belong and come back to center. And the more you do, yeah, go ahead.
Yes, I wanted to mention that you know, in our willingness to be, you know, better, to you know, become the best version of ourselves, to be the good guy, to be, you know, in the spiritual path of growing, expanding, and of course we want people to see us that way, one day to remember us that way. So I can see, I was able to catch it today in my text that I sent to my sponsor. I'm doing the Al-Anon 12 steps. And I shared with her a message that I received from my girlfriend. I said, well, we want to be friends, actually, because of, you know, things that happen and denials. And our communication sometimes has become toxic. And I try myself, my best. I think she tries herself her best. And I said lately I think we're gonna be friends. But then her question is, how can we share our schedule so we don't bump into each other? You know, she and it's been a little bit, you know, to me, it hurts because after 3 years, you know, it's been like at the end we're gonna end up as friends, and that's something that I actually I decided, and she insisted that we should still be together, keep working, and but then she puts like conditions, you know, and like want us to live together. I say we are not ready, things like that. So then I was sharing to my sponsor that I was fine, that I was not resenting it, that I was okay. But the way I was sharing it and the way I type it, she sends it right away. She told me, you are fearful of losing her. You are fearful on bumping into each other at events. You are resentful that she's judging you or criticizing you. You are resentful that she's asking you this question. So please write down on your daily review and send it to me in the forms that we, you know, has a prayer. And it says there why I'm resentful about bumping into each other at events. And it makes me go deeper into my, you know, of course, ego and inside that to find the reason why I'm fearful if I could bump into, you know, with her at an event. Yes, it's jealousy. Yes, it's you know, anger, frustration of myself, not being able to manage my emotions the way it's supposed to be. So it's the thing is here that denial, you know, that I could just give the blind eye to things that really need to be focused so I can disintegrate it and really not to feel fearful about it. It's not like I'm super angry about it, but yes, there is resentment. She found right away, the way I texted her, that there was things there that I need to work on. So I sent her 4 templates, 4 different ones, you know, reviewing my fear about this, my fear about the other thing, my resentment about this situation, and my resentment about, you know. So I was like, oh, wow, how good she is doing this. Now all of this connected with the Course of Miracles, all of this connected to this event tonight, you know. As you said, you had to be able to identify the ego. That's something that it's hard for me to identify when I am in the ego, when I'm when I'm defending myself, when I'm denying that I'm not angry, and when reality I am, when I'm denying that I'm not resenting the moment, you know, when someone tells me, hey, you're doing wrong about this, you know, you could do better. I resent that. So it took time for me to find out, like, yes, now I'm feeling much better about it. It still is a layer, you know, it is a layer, but I'm going to continue sharing to her my feelings. And she will find right away when I'm in my ego and I have things to let go. So I just wanted to share this with you guys.
Yeah, and the ego's going to have you put yourself down for holding on to quote unquote negative emotions. But that's just the ego trying to defend itself so that it can still live through you. And so it's okay to go within and look for those little dark areas within your heart and mind that you still buy into as real.
Dark areas, yes.
Yeah. So when you go into them, now you can lift them up into the surface light, and then you can heal them. Well, one of the things we always say is the only feelings that you allow yourself to feel are those you allow yourself to heal. So you have to feel whatever it is that you're feeling, and then bring it to the surface so the light can shine on it. And so if you're feeling resentful or jealous or whatever, it's okay. It's okay. We're all human, having this human experience. But you know that jealousy and resentment and all that stuff doesn't really belong inside of you. It's just a program that we've been taught. Okay? So all we have to do is practice deprogramming ourselves from those reactions and emotions. But we have to, we have to find it inside. Okay, what's triggering me? This, okay. Then when a person says X, I become jealous or I become resentful. Okay, so that belief is right in here. Okay, let me bring that belief out into the surface, and let me ask the Holy Spirit, God, Jesus, whoever, is there not a better way to deal with this kind of situation? Because right now I'm reacting with resentment or jealousy or whatever. I don't want to react that way. I know that that's not really me. I know that this thing here is just something that I was taught, that I bought into as real. But I don't want this anymore. I now recognize that I don't want this resentment. I don't want this jealousy. So let me bring it out into the surface. Let me deal with it. Let me invite the Holy Spirit in, God in, Jesus in, and say, Jesus, how can I see this differently? How can I see this in a way that's going to make me feel more peaceful or more joyful, less resentful, less jealous? And invite God to lead the way. Say, God, okay, you tell me what to do. You tell me how to think and what to say, and I'll do that. Because I already tried it my way. It wasn't working out. I still kept it inside of me. So let me invite God in and have God lead the way. God, what would you have me think, say, and do in this situation? Because I don't want resentment or jealousy anymore to be my response. And then see what he says. And it usually has something to do with love. Some form of forgiveness or compassion or understanding or mercy or grace. And then when you start to do that, you start to let go of this, start to release this stuff. And then you become lighter. In the physical form and the spiritual form, you become lighter. Because you let that go. You let that programming go. But it's only because you had the courage to deal with it that you were able to let it go. And so when you're dealing with it, the ego's going to try to put you down for that. Oh, you see, you haven't read the book. You haven't read the whole book. You didn't read all the chapters. Or you didn't read enough. Or, or you're not whatever enough. That's why you're experiencing this. But no, this is good. You're experiencing this because God knows that you're ready to deal with this. And so God brought these individuals who triggered this so that you can deal with it and heal it. And so if you start to understand that everything that's happening in your life is being brought about because God knows that you're ready to deal with it, that you have the maturity to deal with it now, that when you bring it out, you don't have to punish yourself for bringing it out. You just pat yourself, I guess I'm ready for this. Thank you, God. Thank you, person X or Y who's triggering me. And so that's the beauty of growth. Don't let the ego put you down for your experience. Whatever your experience is, remember that it's a perfect co-design with the divine. And so the divine, along with you, co-created whatever it is that you're going through now in order to help you heal, grow, and awaken. And so it's good. It's a good thing.
Yeah, this process of awakening, it's painful. as we're discovering, again, I'm learning how it's hard for me to let go. It's been hard for me to let go of a relationship, for example. It's not healthy much. It's not maybe serving my best interest or so. But anyway, as you said, maybe the best interest is for me to learn from this ego exchange and relating to one each other, to wanting to, I mean, finding things that we don't like about each other. It is helpful at the end, but when it's going on in the moment, of course, it's not. Goes into our feelings as humans that we are. And as you said, once we ask the guidance from God, when we go to the source, which is where we always have to go, pray harder than before. Once we identify this is what's bothering me, I can see this can be bothering to her as well. Validating the feelings of the other person, because the other person is seeing from it's her own world, his or her own world. As you said, some people find that if you fight back, if you argue back, they're listen. But if not, like, I don't want to engage sometimes into the drama. For them, it's like, oh, she thinks I'm ignorant, she thinks I'm dumb. So it could go back in their unconscious, and it's triggering. Sometimes a friend, I remember one day, told me, when you tell someone pray or give it to God, they feel triggered. It's like, oh, you're sending me to do this. I mean, how and they find it like it's cold. It's like giving them directions. It's like you telling them you're evil, go pray. Of course, we don't want to tell them like that, but sometimes it's guiding the God a little bit. This is what I'm doing, and it helps. They may know. But when we say find, what brings you peace, and they find this sarcastic, and when it's not actually, and they say, okay, you always tell me what gives me peace. What about you? What brings you peace? I tell her what brings me peace. And not necessarily something that we agree about. What brings me peace? What brings us peace? Because it's hard. Then we start into arguments. Then what brings peace to each other? Oh, it's not that easy, but at the end, breathing in, letting go, make a pause, and sometimes just let it be. Just let it be, and switch the direction into something else. Oh wow, this movie is so nice. Let's watch it. Oh my God, this food is so good. Let's go here and eat. And it changes, people's mood. Finding a way on how to change a little bit where we are, what to do. The topic has helped. But still it is there, the interaction still is there. I'm finding myself in this interaction with a feminine side, feminine person that's very close to me. The many things that I need to work on myself. The interaction with men is easy. It's in my experience, super easy. It's more like, outgoing, easygoing. We are so dramatic. We are so much into so many things. No, everybody. But in my experience, I find that we tell to each other a lot what we need to do. Sometimes we don't like it. Well, yes, thank you. That there is the safety side here is that there is the tools, and the main tools is the praying, going to the source, going to God. And the source is guided by like you, through Mike, through James, through Charles, through Wendy, through any one of you guys that give us examples and experiences and find the light. So the peace of mind to me is through forgiveness, through doing amends, through reviewing my night every day, what was wrong. And when I was not seeing it, like tonight, this lady was saying, this is this and this and this is what you need to work on, Isabel. I was like, oh my God, yes, right. And let me dig deeper there. Thank you so much. This holy experience to be here tonight with you guys. Holy encounter.
Yes, and whenever you start to find something difficult, remember that simply means that the ego's in control of your thinking right there. Because there's nothing easier than being who you truly are. There's nothing easier than being love. There's nothing easier than being forgiving, than compassionate and kind and loving. That's what's truly easy. It's truly easy when the truth in you is in control of your mind and thinking. It's truly hard when the ego is in control of your mind and thinking. And so when you're finding it difficult to find a place of peace, that's not you who's in that moment actually thinking for you. That's the ego who's taking control of your mind. And so all you have to do is remind yourself, wait a second. There's nothing easier, because I am God's loving creation. There's nothing easier than being loving and compassionate and kind and forgiving and merciful and graceful. There's nothing easier than that. It's only hard when the ego is in control of my mind and thinking. And so let me use this moment not to punish myself or not even to punish the ego for taking control of my mind. Let me just practice using this moment to practice taking back control of my own mind from the ego. And so the more you get to practice taking back control of your own mind from the ego, the more you go from fear to love, from condemnation to compassion, from judgment to forgiveness. The more you get to practice that shift in consciousness, that's what the Course in Miracles calls the miracle. It's a shift in consciousness. Being forgiving is actually the easiest thing for me. Why? Because that's who I am. Being loving is the easiest thing for me. Why? Because that's who I am. Being compassionate is the easiest thing for all of us. Why? Because that's who we are. And so there's nothing easier than being who you are, who you truly are. It's only when the ego takes control of your mind that you find things hard, loving things hard to do. And so when that happens, just practice taking back control of your mind from the ego.
And thank you for saying that. Thank you for saying that when we say it's hard. Why it's hard? Because probably we want us using our ego to be the most loved one, the preferred one. Let's say by my loved one, by my girlfriend. I would like that she loves me the most, that she prefers me the most. That's an ego thing. I can see that why it's hard to let go. As well, and it shouldn't be hard, as you said. It shouldn't be hard. It shouldn't be easy. It shouldn't be. It has to be. It is easy.
Yeah, it's hard for the ego to let go.
It's hard for the ego to let go. Yes.
It's not hard for the truth in you to let go. Because the truth in you is freedom.
Do you remember a chance in your life, James, where you let go easily from a loved one? What is that you did? Because you're handsome man, you like women, so you had a lot of romantic life to share. Probably. Tell me one.
I'm not saying that it's, you have to work on taking back control of your mind from the ego a lot, but that's practice. And every relationship helps us develop that. So every relationship is here to help us remember who we truly are. And that we can choose from a place of love instead of from a place of judgment and fear. And so each person along the way has helped us in their own way, And so, the more you get to experience that, the easier it becomes to be at peace, to be able to say, you know what? God has a perfect plan for me in place. But we're all one, so God has the perfect plan for this person to be in place. And so if God has a perfect plan for my partner or my ex-partner or whatever, I should be happy for that. And if our paths divide, I have to practice remembering that my path is perfect and her path is perfect. My path is co-designed with the divine, with perfection, and her path is co-designed with the divine, with perfection. And so when I realize that, when I remember that, practice remembering that, then I have peace. I have peace. Why? Because I'm making a conscious decision to trust God instead of my ego. Trust in the divine design and God's plan instead of my ego's plan for the universe. I don't even know what I'm going to have for lunch tomorrow, let alone what's in the best interest of the universe. And so, when my ego decides that my plan is good, then obviously a lack of peace results, confusion results, chaos results, conflict results. That's because I'm following the ego's plan for my life. But when I just take a step, take a breath, and practice trusting in God, saying, God, you know what's best. If this path is best for her, then I free her to go on her way, you know? And so, yeah, it's just a function of was practice. Practice trusting God, God's divine design over your ego's design for the world.
Thank you. Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So when you're practicing, when you're allowing the divine design to be what it is, you have peace. When you're following the ego's path for your life, you have pain, you have conflict, you have chaos. And so here you have peace if you trust God, divine design. Here you have chaos and confusion and conflict if you trust in the ego's design. So whatever it is that you're experiencing, you know whose guidance you're following. Do you have peace? Do you have mercy? Do you have grace to your brothers and sisters? Then you're following the divine design. Do you have conflict, chaos, jealousy, resentment, hate? You're following the ego's plan. And so all we have to do is remember, man, I've already followed this plan so many decades. Why continue to follow a dead end road? Doesn't never delivers me the state of peace. Never delivers to me true joy. So why continue to follow the ego's plan for my life? I'm going to practice today, no matter what, trusting in the divine design. My journey is perfect for me. Her journey is perfect for her. If it goes different ways, let that be it. That's fine. No big deal. Yes. So, any other questions in regards to letting the ego go or taking back control of your mind from the ego? In the October 16th, in the paragraph 2, paragraph 2, sentence 1, says today, when you do not feel at peace, do not get frustrated. Instead, recognize that you feel this way because you are allowing the ego to think for you. All you need to do is to correct your thinking and realign your mind with the loving mind of God. And then choose from that place of love. So that's what you have to do in each and every moment. Each and every time you lack peace, okay, I lack peace. Why? Not because of something out there. I lack peace because I'm trusting in the ego's design for my life. So now I'm going to stop that line of thinking. I'm going to align my mind with the loving mind of God. And I'm going to practice using this moment to practice trusting God more. And when I do so, I will have peace. And when I do so, I will be grateful for everybody who participated in that process that led me to that place of peace. Any other comments or questions? We have a few more minutes. Everybody else is at peace. until we're not?
No, I wanted to mention that, you know, many times we're asking and asking for ourselves. And that's one of the things that I'm learning. It's that we will ask for me and for others. That helps. Asking for me so I can be help for somebody else. Ask me, to see my dark side, the dark side of me, so I can let it go, work on it, asking God to help me with that, so I can be someone's help, someone's, I don't know, shoulder to cry sometimes, or help somebody. So the flow of energy expands. It doesn't get stuck in me, because only thinking about me, myself, and it's doesn't move much. In the praying, it's if you involve somebody else as well, particularly the person who I'm fearful about, resentful about. In my prayer, I find that it's a miracle, because it works both ways. How the way I see her is the way I'm seeing myself. The fear that I see in her is the fear that I'm unable to see in myself, unable to work in me. So I find that we're here to heal ourselves and somebody else, and it's a big purpose. It's a beautiful thing to see it and to practice that way. I just want to share that. I'm learning that, because in the big book, that's what it says. And of course, in Miracles, of course, I mean, you guys, but at times it's like I have to read it like in the 5th time. I go like, oh, now I get it. Wow. I probably read this before, but I just didn't apply it. And now I'm like, okay, let me include in my prayers also this person. Asking for me, asking for her, asking for the expansion of this.
Yes. So don't punish yourself when you're going through it. Just be grateful that you have the wisdom to know that you can't choose a better way. You can't choose to trust God instead of the ego. And so all those practices that our brothers and sisters have given us throughout our lives, let us thank them for that. Because that has brought us to this place of more wisdom and understanding. And so thank you, everybody who came into my life, even when the ego wanted me to judge them. Thank you. So when you have gratitude towards everybody, you have peace in regards to your past, and then you become a beacon of peace for all others that come your way. And with that, thank you all very much. And God willing, we'll see each other next week. And some of you will see each other sooner than that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great
So
week.
much.
Very
Have a great
good.
Thank
Good
you.
night.